Shall we bring them here? It's nice, no? Yeah. I think perfect. Thanks. I'll try to do. I think I start now. No, most people here. Yeah. Also, yeah. I think better. Okay. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody who doesn't understand. Yeah. Maria's ready? Okay. So thank you for coming. Maria's ready? Yeah, okay. My name is Rogier Hoenders. I'm a psychiatrist in Holland, in the Netherlands. And I've been coming here in this center now for 21 years. And we developed like a different approach to psychiatry, not only going for medication and talking therapies, but also an emphasis on what we can do ourselves to improve our mental health and well-being. So I'd like to focus with you on that today. And this is the... Okay. It was working before. I think it got impatient. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, this is a way to look at how we developed as humankind. So, we went from the caves, then we developed as modern man. It's like the rise, but also the danger of the fall. Looking on these kind of things. Which La Michelle is also very critical on that. So, let's see. Let's start with the first part. Are we happy and healthy now? Let's start with the first one. Are we getting older as humans? Yes? Yes. Okay. So in the last half century, about 30 years older. So the world average was around 50 years, half a century ago, and now it's about 80. So we are getting older. Are we getting more healthy? No. No. So we're getting older, but with more sickness. So a few examples here. We see a large increase in chronic diseases like cancer and heart disease. And since 1980 of the 4th century, we have lost 10 years in health. So it means even though we get older, we have less years without sickness. 10 years to be exact. For women it's even a little bit more, it's 12. And we are losing are cognitive functions. So, for instance, the intelligence is going down. Attention is going down. Memory is going down. The ability to calculate is going down. All of this. And I'll get later back to what is the reason for that. Are we getting happier in the world? What do you think? No, not really, huh? Now, to summarize, we have seen a large increase in stress, anxiety, addiction and depression. These are the biggest mental health issues now around the world. And I think that many of the causes of these problems can be brought back to specific developments as humans. We call this revolutions. This is the first one. We call this the agricultural revolution. That means tens of thousands of years ago, we were running around through the grasslands and we were hiding in caves. And then all of a sudden we started making small villages and we started growing crops. So we call this the agricultural revolution. And it brought us a lot of advantages. For instance, more security of food and also a little bit more safety being together. But it also has its downsides. I'll get back to that later. This is the second revolution. What's it called? Industrial revolution. One of the important things what happened is we were able to manufacture a lot of things, mass production, which brought advantages, but also side effects. Get back to that later. And then, now we are in this era of digital and information revolution. And the latest current in this revolution is artificial intelligence. But also computers, laptops, digital world. And again, there are advantages and there are disadvantages. And then the interesting part for me was I was studying medicine and it came as a shock to myself to realize that what is determining health, what brings about health in any group or population is not the healthcare system. What determines health, it's a little bit difficult to see with the light, but anyway, you can see here a large circle, and medical care, the healthcare system, only determines 11% of our health. There's of course also genetics and the environment, but the biggest part of health is determined by individual behavior, lifestyle behavior, and social circumstances. Let's say culture. Culture and lifestyle are much bigger than medical care. So we have to look from healthcare to self-care. Self-healing, if you want. So there are some places around the world which are specialized in this. And perhaps you know the blue zones, which are areas around the world where people on average get older in health. Not in sickness, but in health. So they are more healthy and they get older. And Okinawa in Japan is a famous one. In Greece, but of course also here in Italy, Sardinia. And there we have Costa Rica and California. There are now more regions. And how come the people are getting older there in more health? There's a lot of debate about it, but it seems to go back again to culture and lifestyle. So, for instance, food, being outside, being together in a community, not eating too much industrialized food, these kind of things. So, to put it very shortly, this is a healthy nutrition. This is the essence. And I think it's a little bit funny for me as a as a Dutch doctor telling you Italians how to eat. Not completely sure it's the right order. Anyway, at least this is the content. So, what is the most important factor? I'd like to go to the essence today, otherwise it gets too long. What is the most important thing? We used to eat fresh food. Now we eat almost 80% of our diet is industrialized. So this is one of the disadvantages of the Industrial Revolution. That means the nutrition and the essence of food is not there anymore. So the amount of vitamins, minerals, everything that's nutritious for us has been going down. This is one problem. And then there's another problem. Something which was not there is now inside. And here we have one example, sugar. In 1700, we used to eat about 2 kilograms of sugar every person for a year. 100 years later, it was 5 times, 10 kilograms. Another 100 years later, it was 40 times. And another 100 years later, it was 80 times. So there's an extreme increase in the use of sugar. And that is bad for our health. And there is a difficulty here that sugar is usually not clear. It's being hidden. So there are 60 names for sugar. Maltose, dextrose, galactose, glucose. I could go on and on. All the O's are like hidden names for sugar. So without knowing it, we are taking sugar all the time. And this is giving an inflammation in the body and a lot of problems in our health. So this is just a picture of a supermarket. And to give you a very short advice, only eat what your great-grandmother would recognize as food. Then you're almost there. Because this is not really food. This is sugar in different forms. And the problem is, it's now 70 or 80% of what we can buy in the stores. Children are taking about 2/3 of their energy from industrialized food. It has the criteria of being addictive. So you eat something and you want more. Maybe you know from chips. You take some, and then you don't feel satisfied. You feel like you want more, right? This is addiction inside. So they make something like this on purpose to make you eat more to sell more chips. It has to do with grease and with sugar. And it is linked to chronic disease, and it's also bad for the environment. Both are linked together. And one of the major drivers of unhealthy behavior, unhealthy food, is dopamine. Dopamine is a transmitter or a hormone which has the aspect of, this is good taste, I want more. So it drives addiction and repetition. If you have too much, you get addiction. The other one, which has to balance it, is serotonin. This has the aspect of, this feels good, it is enough. I feel satisfied. It's a completely different story. Now the difficulty here is, almost everything we do in our Western world now is based on dopamine. Social media, food, drugs, sugar, smoking, coffee, wine. I could go on and on. So many of these things have been developed for us to like it and to want more, so they can make more profit. So the industry is very keen of how to do this. The more you stimulate dopamine, the more you take, the more serotonin goes down. And this is linked to anxiety and depression. So I started the first slide with, we are getting unhappy because of anxiety, stress, addiction, depression. And here's one of the reasons. Too much dopamine, not enough serotonin. And if you're chronically stressed, then both go down. So I was in Holland at a conference last month, and it was a conference together with art. And there was one artist who made a very beautiful sculpture, and it was this one. And this is exactly the problem of dopamine. If you take too much dopamine, you feel down, you're tired, and you feel empty inside. It gives it's like a rush without content. There's no basis. So it feels I'm empty. This is the sign of somebody who has too much dopamine, and it's very easy to get because everything that is new, that is flashy, that has a sweet or a salty taste, it gives you this rush, and there you are. So many consequences. One of them is obesity, too much weight. Obesity only has to do with how much we eat, but also what we eat, because it differs a lot. You can eat a lot of vegetables without gaining weight. You can eat a little bit of industrialized food and get fat. So you can see here what in America happened in just a few decennia, in one generation. There has been an increase from about 10% to about 40 or 50% of the population being overweight. This has gone so far that it's even a threat to America for the safety of the country. In other words, soldiers are too fat to fight. If they had to go on the battlefield, they cannot run because they are too fat. So even from this point of view, many more reasons, of course, of healthy and happiness, but from many point of view, this is a big risk. And we are going in the Western world, in Europe, we're going in the same direction. So one of the solutions is getting a proper diet. So eat only what your grandmother would have recognized as food. My second advice would be, don't eat all the time. Again, one of the causes, because of this agricultural revolution, before, like 50,000 years ago, we had times where we had food, and there was times there was no food. This has been in our DNA for thousands of years, that there were times we couldn't eat. So then we would lose weight, in other times we would gain weight. What happened after the agricultural and industrial revolution? There's food all over the place all the time. So what happens? We keep eating. Driven by dopamine, we eat all the time. So it is advisable not to eat all the time, which we call fasting. Fasting can be done in different ways. You can fast for 1 day, 2 days, a week. You can do with juices or without juices. It doesn't really matter which type of fasting you apply. Just don't eat all the time. And if you do that, everything improves. Your blood pressure goes down, you lose weight, you have a better, the fat in your blood is better, your sleep gets better. Basically everything improves. So don't eat all the time. Then there's another side to this story, and that has to do with the environment. Because how we grow our crops and how we eat, this is all linked together. In other words, if we eat too much meat, red meat, it has an effect on the environment. But also other kinds of nutrition, it's the same. So what you see here, this is a calculation made by a lot of scientists, how much we need. And here you can see meat, vegetables, eggs, poultry, dairy, fish, etc. This is what we need. And in the colors, different regions of the world, you can see how much we take. So to take one example, North America, red meat, this is what we need. This is what is being taken. So it's about 6 or 7 times more than we need, which has a large effect on the environment. CO2, draining water, nitrogen, many problems come from that. Here's another example which is a little bit more sad in a way. This is Africa. What happens here? Starchy vegetables such as potatoes and corn. Why is this in Africa so much? Because they don't have anything else. So in some regions of the world, people have poverty or have something which is not available, and then they eat something else. But most of the world, we need more nuts, grains, legumes, fruits and vegetables, and less red meat, potatoes, rice and corn. This is, for most of the people around the world, a good idea. And if we don't change the way we are harvesting and making our food, this will impact climate change. It has a large effect on the environment. So here you see the 4 biggest issues. Rising temperatures, we have more extreme weather, we have rising sea levels, and we have CO2, which is like carbon dioxide. It is mounting in the air. There you get a lot of problems from that. You can see all around. Not enough water, degradation, heat, severe weather, and there you get a lot of diseases. So this is what is coming to us if we don't change the way we are doing our lives. And just to go a little bit into detail here, some people question if there's really a climate issue or if there's really rising temperatures. I'd like to show you some data, scientific data. This is a recording over 2,000 years of the average temperature around the world. You can see it's almost 0. And it has been for 2,000 years all the same. And then in the last decades, it has skyrocketed. And if you take this small place and you enlarge it, then you get here. And you see what happens. And this is not because of natural causes, earthquakes or things. This is human intervention. One of the consequences is we lose the Arctic sea ice. We had around 6 million square kilometers of sea ice, and this has been going down. These are different calculations, and in a few decades there will be no ice whatsoever on Earth. Everything will be gone if we don't change how much carbon dioxide we are emitting. And the changes around the world, these are not going in a gradual way. It's not like step by step, but it's going in what we call tipping points. So all of the time something is changing, and then all of a sudden it goes over a point, and then it goes very fast. And this also happens here with the coral reefs, with the boreal forest, with the Sahel, but also there's a current going around between Europe and America, and the water is cooling between the poles and the equator. So here it is hot, and here it's cold. And this current, it is cooling, so it keeps everything in balance. Did anybody see this movie, for instance? Nobody? Wow. Oh, one. Okay. So if you didn't see it, I think it's nice to see. It is a little bit dramatized, but it is showing a situation where this current is slowing down. And all of a sudden, cold is coming down very rapidly. And everybody thought, well, that's a little bit exaggerated, but this is exactly what we see now. So this movie is now happening. So the currents are slowing down, and therefore cold is coming down from the poles. So everything is mixed up. Okay, this is a little bit problem. Now we go to solutions. The interesting part is, just like our cells, we have a self-healing capacity. We can recover from diseases. We can recover from problems. Also, the environment can recover. And in this study, they found that if you make a lot of changes for the better, then tropical rainforest can regenerate. It can recover quite fast, actually. Also, wildlife can regenerate. And maybe you've seen these pictures. Do you remember COVID time? When we were all wearing masks and we had to stay inside? The animals were very happy. Because all around the world, these pictures were taken. So animals took over the streets and the cities because we were not there. So you can see that when we change, it can go quite fast. So there's an opportunity, I think. And now we can see also, for instance, in New Zealand, people start realize the potential of the nature for us to improve our health. So who's been with La Michelle to the forest just now? Only a few, okay. So Lama is taking people into the forest these days. And this is because we now realize that it's actually healing to be in the in green or in blue spaces. So to give you one example, this is a study done in England. Just before people go into the nature, their happiness is 5 on a scale from 0 to 10. And afterwards they grade it a 7.5. If life is worthwhile, 5 to 7, the anxiety levels go down. So nature seems to give immediately an impulse to our mental health. And to make it more exact, you need about 2 hours a week. It's here. So the biggest improvement in health is when you spend 2 hours a week in nature. It can either be green or blue. That means like trees and forest, or water spaces as well. One more thing, if you are there, please also exercise. Because we have a lot of people worrying about their health. And it's not that diabetes, heart disease and obesity runs in your family. It is that no one runs in your family. We have stopped to exercise. This is again one of the side effects of the revolution I showed you before. Why? Because of the Industrial Revolution, we have cars, we have elevators, we have all these things which make that we don't have to use our muscles and our bodies anymore, and therefore we start losing the ability to move, and we have a problem. So, to summarize very shortly what you can do with your exercise, you need 4 types of exercise, 4 different kinds. Strength, endurance, flexibility like yoga and Tai Chi, and do not do this too much, like we are doing now. How many hours do we sit on a chair during the day on average? Anybody know? How many hours? Yeah, Italy 8, in my country it's 9.5. So it's only sleeping and sitting, basically, what we do. So, and this is also very bad for our health. So try to strength, endurance, flexibility, and don't sit all the time. So we had food, we had exercise, now we get to stress. Anybody feel stressed sometimes? Yeah, me too. So to give you one example, I put here a little bit, it's a little bit critical way of putting it, but I think these are some aspects of our Western lifestyle. Crowded, looking at screens, too much to do, We have light pollution. That means we increase light during the night so we can continue to work and to be active all the time. A lot of traffic and we're running around. So there's an increase in information. Every day now we get 74 gigabytes of information. That is about 16 movies of information we get every day. This is the same amount we got 500 years ago in a whole lifetime. We get now in one day. So there's an extreme increase in information. And this is being brought to us by this kind of, I think you know these ones, right? What is happening with this kind of software? The main point here is they are drawing your attention by bleep or push messages or by giving something you like, because they learn by the way we are choosing and we are putting inside the website. So I mentioned before that we are losing our ability to concentrate, our ability to memorize. This is because it was stolen. Very nice book by John Hardy, and I also gave it to La Michelle. And he's explaining that the industry is so smart and they understand how our mind works, so they are using dopamine to steal our attention, so we will buy their products. So we need to know this so we can resist. I think it must be in Italian as well, so you can check out. Why? Because if our attention gets stolen, the mind goes everywhere. Like a monkey mind, right? The more the mind goes everywhere, the more depression and anxiety we have. Because a wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So, to put it very short, the industry is making money to making products which uses our dopamine system, so we get sick and we pay them. More or less. And we need to know this so we can make choices in a different way. Because the mind is already going everywhere, right? This is our mind. It's also an iceberg. I'm communicating with you on this level. This is our awareness. This is our cognitive mind. But this is the rest of our mind. It is quite a good example. We have about 10,000 thoughts every day, of which 95 are unconscious, and almost the same as yesterday, and the same as tomorrow. So we are repeating thousands of thoughts every day, again and again. And we are not always aware of them, but they have an effect. So they bring down the mind because they are usually with fear or anger. La Michelle calls it pre-suffering and re-suffering. There's a beautiful poem by a Western writer. He says, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortune and hardship, most of which never happened." It's just the mind going. And we suffer because of it. Okay, so we had diet, we had exercise, we had stress in the mind. Then we have sleep. Sleep is a very interesting thing. It's helping our mind to regenerate, and it helps us with our self-healing capacity. And we need around 7 to 8 hours. If we have less, you get more disease and mortality. If we have too much, same problem. So we need about this. So give you an example. I'm 53 now. So if I would sleep on average less than 6 hours, here, then in 10 years, I would have 20% more chance of disease. And in 20 years, 40% more chance of disease. So lack of sleep is a very strong indicator of disease. It's not only the quality, the quantity, how many hours, it's also the quality. This is what we call a hypnogram. This is how your sleep is supposed to be. Here you go to sleep, and then you fall asleep. These are the deep stages of sleep. We give you like a refreshed feeling. Here we have rapid eye movement and dreaming. And here we have little awakenings during the night. So the first half of the night, we have deep sleep, which refreshes. Second part of the night, we have more light sleep, but also dreaming. What is the problem with my profession, psychiatry? We are prescribing medication which takes away REM sleep. So it diminishes the quality of the sleep. The same is true with alcohol and drugs, by the way. But also with medication, it diminishes. So you can force your sleep with taking a sleeping pill, but the quality goes down. So even though you get your amount of hours, you don't feel refreshed. You can even feel like a hangover when you take sleeping pills because it doesn't work so good for your brain. It's better to run, actually, for sleeping. Then, nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress. Then social relationships. We are animals, mammals. So we function well in a group and being together. In other words, if you feel lonely, it's as toxic as smoking 15 cigarettes or drinking 6 glasses of alcohol a day. It's as bad for your health as feeling lonely. So it's very important for us to maintain our relationships. And then, this is a joke I took from Dean Ornish. He's a professor of medicine in America. And he says, many people think it's cool and sexy to smoke and drink. But this is not true, because it's bad for your sex life. It diminishes, it can make you impotent. So what is really sexy, actually, is having a healthy lifestyle, because it improves your sex life. So it's a different way of putting it, but it's to draw attention. Usually people get more attention. Okay, so how is it possible that things so easy as eating, sleeping, exercising can influence our lives, our health, our happiness, our longevity? How does it work? It is because, using La Michel's words, there is always interaction and transformation. We are all the time interacting with our body and our mind, with the environment, with other people. Put it another way, it's not possible to change. It is impossible not to change. Because change is always there. This is because of epigenetics. It's because of the microbiome, I will explain a little bit more, and the plasticity of our brain. So our brains are changing all the time. So if I take medication for depression, I change my brain. If I do psychoanalysis for my mental health problems, my brain also changes. If I do mindfulness meditation, my brain changes. If I do running therapy, my brain changes. If I eat well, my brain changes. So it is always changing. But if we don't guide it in the right direction, we are moving towards sickness and problems. And this is especially interesting. I think Anne Vossi is going to speak later this week on the microbiome, so I won't say too much. But just to give you a small information, we have 1.5 kilograms of beings inside. Bacteria, viruses, parasites. And the amount of the genetic material of all of these beings in us is the same as our own genetic material. So to put it differently, half of you is not you. Half of you is other beings who live inside of you. So what nice way of putting it. And if we eat in an industrialized way, they don't like it so much. And then they cause problems. Because our brain and the digestive tract, they are linked in many ways. So if we don't eat well, if we don't exercise, we take medication, drugs, whatever, this changes the whole mix of bacteria and we get results on our brain. Okay, so if we know all of this, why not have a good healthy lifestyle? Did anybody ever change his lifestyle? Who tried to change his lifestyle? Sometimes. Did you ever have a good idea, 1st of January, not to drink anymore, smoke, exercise more? Yes? Be honest, please. Okay. Who succeeded longer than a week? Longer than a month? Longer than a year? Okay. So, on average, 75% of we keep it for 1 week. 20% keeps it for 1 year. 10% for 1.5 years. 5% 2 years. We have a lot of difficulty to change. And especially to keep the change. So starting to change is not so difficult. But keeping the change is quite difficult. But we can, if you have guidance, it can be better. So I like to, the last part, I like to give you some advices how to maintain your change, how to keep your healthy lifestyle, your happy and healthy lifestyle. But before I do that, I explain why it's so difficult. So, who wants change? Who wants to change? This is how we are. We all like changes, but not to induce ourselves. Or we think about meditation. I like to be very peaceful, mindful. But what happens, it feels more like this. Because we try to keep our mind here and going everywhere and difficult to do. So, let me give you the summary. I think we are unconscious, non-logical, irrational, complex creatures, full of contradictions, focused on the short term, and reacting mainly from habits, with a very limited autonomy and free will, in a world full of seductions, dopamine-driven by the industry. There we are. Difficult to change. But it's not only our own problem, it's also because of these bastards of the industry. Look, open happiness, beautiful people, successful, and they all drink Coca-Cola. Or smoking. When I was young, I would go to the movies, I saw this guy, and I thought, I also want to smoke. And I started to smoke. So it's advertisement, it's our family, our upbringing, it has to do with groups we participate in, it's school, it's friends, it's because of finance, politics, the industry, availability, cost and time. These are all factors which influence our behavior and which make it difficult to change. So it's our mindset, it's the environment, but it's also the brain. The brain, this is human brain. So if you would cut me in 2 pieces, and you look from that side, then you see this. I hope, I think. And this is the most well-known, this we call this the neocortex, or the human brain. This is the latest in the evolution. This part is the emotional brain, or the mammal brain, which has to do with threat and with remembering and fear. And here we have the survival and autonomous function in the reptile brain. So why do I show you this? What do you think? Where do you make your decision, I want to be more healthy? Which part? Here, here, or there? Last one. Yes. To be specific, here, mostly. The medial prefrontal cortex. Okay. Which one is more powerful? This one, or this one? Yeah. This is the most powerful one. Why? Because it helps us to survive. So it's the most important one. Feelings are stronger than thoughts and intentions. And survival is even more strong. So what's happening? We make our plan here, but the moment emotions arise, plan is gone. Have you ever eat when you felt strong emotions? Emotion eating. And even more when you feel threatened or when there's like survival. So this is why it's so difficult to change. But it's possible. So let's look at the solution. If it still functions. Yeah. Okay. This is what we have. I think fake news, rumors, discredit, lies, distortion, chaos, it's everywhere. There's a certain president somewhere in one country who likes it very much. And in what is healthy, in the health industry, it's even more strong than in other industries. So many people have ideas and advices about health. If you Google, you can find influencers all over the place. And we did a study in the Netherlands. About 70% of all the advices of influencers is not true. So it's not something to base your health on. You need to have more solid ground. So the first one is we need to look for reliable, scientifically based information. Not ideas from opinion makers, but high-level evidence. This is very important because otherwise you get fooled. The second point is we need to be mindful of what we are doing. Why mindfulness? If we are not aware what we are doing, we cannot change it. Did you ever notice that you, like, for instance, you were nervous and you were like eating, and all of a sudden you notice you're eating? Or smoking, for that matter. Smoking is a very nice one. I used to smoke before, so I can say this. So smoking is very interesting. And people want to stop smoking. Our advice is smoke mindfully. So you take your cigarette, you light it, and then you inhale. You let the smoke go everywhere through your lungs. Feel it everywhere. Taste how the tobacco is on your lips, on your tongue. Feel your pulse, what happens to your pulse. Do it full mindfulness. What happens? People stop smoking. Because it's not healthy, it's not nice, it's even giving a stress reaction. But we associate it with happiness and with relaxation. And you can only tell if you're mindful. So mindfulness helps to start noticing what you're doing, but also if you are going in the right direction. So to keep on course with your lifestyle changes. The second part is you have to make a registration how you're doing. And then if you have a goal, you like to keep a diary if you are managing to keep your goal. Because if you make a registration and you can write down what's happening and what you're succeeding, then the chance to change is better. But the goal needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based, so smart. And not too big. Because the right goal is small, easy, meaningful, fun, and joyful. And that's an important part, because I have many groups of people who want to change, and they tell me, I need to do more sports. I like to do the marathon next month. That's a too big step. What happens with your amygdala, like the small part of the brain inside, it starts firing because you think, I have to do the marathon, and then your plan is gone. So you need to make it small, attractive, easy to do, and then repetition, repetition. So you need to take small steps. If you want to go for a big step, then you block yourself. So big changes come by taking a lot of small steps, simple to do, repetition, repetition, repetition. So even if you want to go 1,000 kilometers, you need to go step by step. Does anybody have a calculation of how much you walk on a day here? Or a Fitbit, Apple Watch, something like this? Not so much? Okay. So this kind of feedback shows us what we have been doing during the day. It's again about mindfulness, actually, because it helps us to be mindful of our sleep, of our movement. And people look at it, and then they think in the evening, 6,000 steps, maybe I go for a walk, right? It's because you see this information. So short-term feedback helps you to change. Especially when you combine it with reward. This is a little bit difficult slide, but this is called a meta-analysis. And this is strong evidence that when you take a reward on every step you take, for instance, you get money or you get a compliment or whatever it is, then you have more chance of change. And you like to do it together with friends who are healthy and happy. Why? They can help you. But even the fact when you are in a group of people who are healthy and happy, the chance that you will become healthy, happy as well is increasing. It's like contagious. So a close friend is healthy and happy, 25% more chance to be happy. Neighbors, even 34%. So being in contact with happy people makes you happy as well. And you like to continue your change for a while. On average, you need about 60 days to create a new good habit. If it's a simple habit, it's more easy, like drinking water is a habit in 20 days, eating food in 40 days, 10-minute walk in 50 days. So it depends on what you do, but you need to continue for a time to make it a new habit. And we are made of habits, so this is the way to improve our health. Then you need to take the whole system, and you need to take idols and authorities. Once upon a time, doctors were idols and authorities. This is not the case anymore. Because medical knowledge was only in books with doctors. Now it's on the internet. So people come to our office and say, I have this, can you prescribe me this? Instead of saying what is their symptom. Still, it makes a difference. If a doctor says it's better for you to do more healthy, it has about 3% effect. But Beyoncé is much more powerful. So if she starts on a diet, hundreds of millions start on a diet as well. And the same is true for Messi or for Ronaldo. Maybe you've seen this at the soccer game, at the World Championships. He took away his Coca-Cola and he said, drink water. Then he got a big fight with his sponsor. But it was a very powerful way of showing young people what to do. So you can use this when you want to change yourself. Look at which idols you like to be like. And last but not least, use spirituality. Or better, use whatever is most important for anyone. Because if you want to make a change of your lifestyle, which is difficult to do, you're only going to do effort if it is related to what's most important in your life. So you want to have a connection between your lifestyle change and what's most important in your life. So they are all here. We need information, reliable and clear, mindfulness or awareness of what we are doing. We want to make a registration of what we are doing and then of what we want to achieve. With the right goal, easy and attractive, small steps in repetition, with feedback, help by others, in daily life together with those who are close to us. Continue for 60 days or about 2 months, but don't become an extremist. Some people like to do a healthy life and they do it like an extremist. Like every day bring your own food everywhere, never interact with others. This doesn't last. It's not happy for you, not happy for others. So do about 80% healthy and 20% of the time you go with the flow. Use authorities, idols, and connect to what's most important. And I will finish with this and then we open up for some questions. Besides working as a psychiatrist, I'm also a professor of spirituality and lifestyle at the University of Groningen. And it used to be, we called this the faculty of theology, of religion. But the name has changed to religion, culture and society. And that has a reason, because in most countries we are abandoning religion because secularization of the society. I'm not sure if you are so familiar, because in Italy it's not so much the case. But here you can see in blue the amount of the people in any country who say, yes, I believe in God. Italy is somewhere here. So about 65% of Italians say, I believe in God, or they are religious or spiritual in any way. My country is here. Less than 1/3. So that means that 2/3 of the population is not religious or spiritual. And that means that we have a whole different way of looking at the world and where we put our effort and what we think is important to do. So this is why the society is changing. And I think we are in a time of materialism. I'm going to skip this for now and focus on the last part. Yes, which has to do with, this is the secularization of the society, besides all the other things I already showed you. So what we see now is that people are rushed because of information overload, stress. We have no time. We have all these laptops, smartphones, everything is going on our mind, and we cannot concentrate. So this is the latest gadget. Did you see this one? It is earplugs and eye shades at the same time. I think this is a very nice example how we have difficulty to focus, and we try to force our focus, but then you are not connected anymore. You get really disconnected from the world because of your example to focus. So, I give you my recipe, finally, for a healthy and happy life, and then you can have some questions. The first one is, have 30 minutes of exercise, best will be outdoors, integrated in daily life with a lot of gardening and sunshine. Have a pesco-vegetarian, that means a little bit of fish, maybe a little bit of meat, but not so much, a lot of green. And don't eat too much. 50% of the stomach is full, 25 is empty, and 25 is fluid. Make sure you chew a lot. I think Michel mentioned this morning in his teaching, right? Yeah, there's a connection between chewing and breathing. Drink a lot of water, because many people are dehydrated. A little bit of red wine, maybe. Not completely sure, but at least not so much. Don't eat all the time. Do some fasting. Eat more fruit, legumes and vegetables. Avoid too much of potatoes, corn and peas because there's sugar inside. Pasta, bread, the same. Red meat, processed food and fruit juice. Eat local, seasonal, and don't throw away. We throw away about 35 kilograms of food every year. This is also a difficulty for the environment. Avoid smoking, drugs, alcohol, too much sugar and salt. Sleep at least 7 hours, following the natural cycles also for the quality. And limit your screen time, news, social media, and sitting still all the time. Avoid chronic stress. Meditate, create silence and reflection. Avoid distraction and train your mind. And then do some creative expression, because many people have emotional issues. It helps to sing, dance, draw, write or paint. Spend 2 hours a week in nature. Have animals, pets. Do something for the community, volunteerism, contribute. Remember, being lonely is toxic, so we need to invest in family ties, intimate relationships, time with your partner, parents and children. Be careful with too much traveling, of course, for the environment. Live a simple life. Don't work too much. I'm telling you this familiar by my own mind, because this is one of my weaknesses, I think. Don't delay. Do it in an ethical way. Have the courage to change, the patience to accept, and the wisdom to know which is which, and follow your spiritual path. And I think in that way we can be healthy and happy. Is it easy? No. It takes time and effort. But if we don't dedicate time and effort now for health and well-being, we will have to dedicate time later for sickness and suffering. And there's one more thing. The older we get, the more difficult to change. So we better start changing. Okay. Any questions? Any objections? Questions? Other thoughts? A lot of work to do. A lot of opportunities to do. Yeah. And go step by step in a joyous way. Not to, because we are sometimes too serious, like, oh, I'm not doing it in the right way, I'm a bad person, like this. It's better to do it in a joyful way. Yes, please. Yes.
Has been studied because it's very, it makes anxiety for people of our generation. But I think in children is even more.
Yes. Yes, I understand. So the question is, do we have any studies on the effects of the Industrial Revolution on children, mostly? Yes. The most debated subject now is the smartphone. So, if children should have access to phones and social media, etc. And there are no easy answers, because yes, if you use a lot of this, your mental health goes down. This is for sure. However, it's not only bad. For some people, sometimes they can also have more contact, more easy way to stay in contact with others. So it's not only always bad, but mostly yes. Then there is a problem like drugs. Do you want to make a complete forbidden to use phones? Then it will be very interesting for children, they will go for it. Or do you want to do it more gradual and protect them from an early age and then when they get older, a little bit like gradual exposure. This would be my idea. Just like you do also with alcohol and drugs. Don't give it just to them, but wait till a certain age and then help them to deal with it in the right way. It's like La Michelle is saying, do you want to make the world perfect without anything which is harmful? Or do we want to learn to relate perfectly to the imperfect world? So we need to learn to relate to these kind of things. And the industry who are trying to make money out of our health. Yes, it looks like not only children, also for all of us, the more we use this kind of things, the more like intelligence and health go down. And it makes sense, because if you don't use it, you lose it. So if we are, because of the Industrial Revolution, we are not exercising so much anymore. So we are losing our strength. We need to go to the gym. Because of the Digital Revolution, we don't have to memorize like they do in Tibet with all the things. We don't learn to have critical thinking because we put it in ChatGPT. ChatGPT is now doing our thinking. If we are not thinking and we're not using it for many years, it goes down. So I think we need not only gyms for the body, but also gyms for the mind. Otherwise, we have a problem. No. Yeah. I need translation. Sorry? Yeah. Okay, so the question is, how do you know what is conscious or not conscious? Yeah. Okay, let me give you an example. Maybe you heard in Lama Michel's teachings about non-manifested anger. So I give the example he gave. Are you angry? No. If I hit you on the face, do you get angry? Yes, probably yes. So there is somewhere, there is this aspect, but it's not manifested, it's not clear. This is very similar to unconscious. So something, another example. If somebody walks in the door and I don't like the person, I may have a very good upbringing, so I'm very sociable, I can be very nice and very kind, but somehow you can notice in my non-verbal communication, I don't like the person. I even may not notice it myself, but you can see in my body language I'm doing in a different way. Also unconsciousness. The unconscious has a far bigger effect than your conscious. Far more. It's even like this, the more something is unconscious, the bigger the effect on your behavior. Very interesting, yeah. This is why almost every therapy in the world, psychotherapy, any complementary medicine therapy, it's always about awareness. Becoming aware of your, having more insight, having more understanding. Why? Because the moment you understand how things come, then it loses its grip. The grip is there because you're not conscious. More questions? Yeah. Melatonin, yeah. So melatonin is a natural substance. It's like a hormone which is being produced in the epiphyse, and the problem is that it depends on your natural clock, your biological clock. So we have everything goes in circles, all our rhythms, together with day and night. Because we are out of balance, also the melatonin goes down. And most clear we know from a jet lag. If you take a plane to the other side of the world, yes? Okay. So some people try to take melatonin in an effort to balance. It is a little bit delicate. Yes, it may work a little bit for sleeping, but if you want to do it in the right way, the best way to do would be first to measure where is your own natural peak of melatonin, because it differs between persons. And some people have a disruptive biological clock. So, for instance, if you have a peak around 4 o'clock in the morning, you would have to take melatonin at 3 o'clock in the morning, not at 8 o'clock at night. Because you want to take just before. And then you grow, gradually you move your clock. If people have the peak at 8 o'clock at night, then they would take no melatonin or later at night, because then you would have to, so you have to know where to balance. Many people just take like this. And another point is the dosage. So if you want to mimic your own natural clock, you would have to take 0.3 milligrams. 3 milligrams. Many people take 1, 5 or 10 milligrams, which is 100 times more. And this is not balancing your internal clock. So it's a little bit delicate. The best way to do is to go early morning outside, walking in sunshine. Best for your melatonin, in a natural way. No. Any other? Yes, please. Yeah. So the question is, do we anticipate a revival of science and of spirituality and religion? I'm not so sure, to be honest. If you look on the tendencies in the world, it seems, I skipped one of the slides, it was there, maybe you saw it. There's a tendency to more materialism. Materialism is something which you can see, let me give an example. It's even in the language. If we say something is important, we say, does it matter? So we say, is it material and is it important? It's like synonymous. And also, if people walk in the room, we say, everybody here. We don't say, every mind here. So there's a tendency to use language in a way that material is more important than the mind or the spiritual. And that, together with the church and religion going down and changes in the world, I'm not so sure. If you look, what I learned from the Tibetan view is that the prediction was that it would get even worse, basically. But it is also so that if you change now and you become more spiritual, the positive effect is also increasing. So it's more that they say like, it's like the good and the bad forces, they are both increasing. So it's more important what we choose. This is what I learned. Okay, so thank you very much for coming. And thanks for the translators and for Camina behind the scenes. Now I'm looking in the camera.